Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty big. We want to build a working map in your head of muscle anatomy and movement.
Yeah, not just rattling off names.
Exactly. We want to connect that tiny engine, the microscopic stuff driving contraction, to the big muscles you actually use every single day.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
And especially for you, the learner, maybe you're trying to get this terminology down fast.
Yeah.
Our goal today is, well, knowledge stickiness. Make it make sense.
Right.
We've looked at sources that are great with word roots, memory tricks, real-life stuff, trying to get the why behind the structure so you're really understanding it, not just, memorizing lists.
Okay, so our source roadmap. It's pretty packed, but hopefully rewarding. We'll start small, the basic building blocks of muscle connective tissues, the special cell parts. Then we dive into how contraction actually happens, the physics of it, that famous sliding filament theory. That's the real engine, isn't it?
It really is, the core mechanism.
And finally, we connect all that back to the body, mapping the major muscles you can actually see or feel to specific actions, blinking, breathing, lifting stuff. Time to build some muscle memory, literally.
Let's do it. So to really grasp how muscle creates force, directed force, you got to see it's structured. It's not just a blob of cells.
Right.
It's this layered system,
Right.
all held together by connective tissue. And the root word to know here is mesium. Basically means muscle.
Okay, so let's unpack the first three layers, the three mesiums. Start on the very outside. The whole muscle, the entire organ, it's wrapped in this tough connective tissue layer. That's the epimesium.
Exactly. And there's your first memory aid. Think epidermis, your outer skin layer. Epi means upon or outside. So the epimesium is the covering for the whole muscle. Structurally, it's about cutting down friction against bones and other muscles, and it anchors the muscle to the tendon.
Got it. Okay, now peel that back. Inside the muscle, the fibers aren't just loose, right? They're grouped together.
In bundles. Like bundles of straws, yeah. We call those bundles muscle fascicles.
Fascicles, okay. And what's wrapping around each of those bundles?
That's the perimesium. Think perimeter, like a fence around a group.
Perimeter, perimesium. Okay, makes sense.
So perimesium surrounds the fascicles. And what's interesting is it's also like a highway. Blood vessels, nerves, they run through the perimesium to get deeper into the muscle.
Distribution.
Exactly. It ensures everything gets where it needs to go. The signal's the fuel.
Okay, one more layer down. Inside a fascicle, we finally get to the individual muscle fibers, the muscle cells themselves. Each single cell, what wraps that?
That's the endomesium, and that one's maybe the easiest. Endo means inner or within.
Endo, inside, right.
So endomesium wraps the individual cell, so zooming out again. Right. Epimesium, whole muscle. Perimesium around the bundles, the fascicles. Endomesium, the inner wrap around one single cell.
And this layering, it's how the tiny forces add up, right?
Yeah.
From the inside out to the tendon.
Precisely. It transfers that tension generated way down at the molecular level, layer by layer, out to the tendon, which then pulls the bone. It's a beautiful structural design.
Okay, so we've unwrapped the muscle. Now we're at the cell itself, the muscle fiber. And these are really specialized, aren't they? Especially skeletal muscle.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So specialized that we kind of throw out some standard cell biology terms. There's a key rule here. Great thing for you to lock in for memory.
Okay.
Swap the prefix cyto, which usually means cell.
Right. Cytoplasm, cytoskeleton.
Exactly. Swap cyto for sarco.
Sarco. Why sarco?
Sarco literally means flesh or meat. These cells are so different, early anatomists basically said, nope, these need their own vocabulary. Hence, sarco.
Ah, okay. That actually helps. So the cell membrane, not plasma membrane, it's the sarcolemma.
You got it. And the cytoplasm, the jelly inside?
Ah, sarcoplasm.
Perfect. And the ER, the endoplasmic reticulum, that internal network.
Must be the sarcoplasmic reticulum, SR.
Exactly, the SR. And it's not just any storage unit. This is crucial. It's the dedicated warehouse for calcium.
Calcium. Okay, I'm sensing that's going to be important later.
Hugely important. It's the trigger. We also need to talk about the fiber structure itself. Skeletal muscle fibers. They can be incredibly long, sometimes the whole length of the muscle.
Wow.
And they are multinucleated, multiple nuclei in one cell.
Why is that? Most cells just have one.
It's how they form. During development, lots of individual cells called myoblasts fuse together to make one long fiber. And a cell that big, doing that much work, it needs multiple control centers, multiple nuclei to manage everything.
Okay, that makes sense. So if this fiber is so long, how does the signal, the nerve impulse telling it to contract, how does that reach the middle of fiber basically instantly? Seems like it would take time to diffuse in.
Ah, brilliant question. That's where the T-tubules come in. Think of them as tunnels.
T-tubules.
Yeah, T for transverse. They're tube-like invaginations, little tunnels formed from the sarcolemma, the cell membrane, that dive deep down into the cell's interior.
Like express elevators for the signal.
Exactly like that. They carry that electrical impulse rapidly down into the fiber, ensuring it reaches all the contractile machinery, the myofibrils, at pretty much the exact same moment. That gives you a fast, coordinated contraction of the whole fiber.
Okay, T-tubules. Got it. So inside the sarcoplasm, what's actually doing the contracting?
That would be the myofibrils. These are long, cylindrical structures packed inside the muscle fiber. They are the specialized contractile organelles. These are the things that physically shorten.
And myofibrils are made of even smaller things.
Yep. They're built from the myofilaments. These are the actual protein rods. Our sources list 6 key types. Understanding what each one does is really the key to unlocking contraction.
6 types. Okay, let's list them out.
We have actin, myosin, troponin, tropomyosin, nebulin, and titin. We usually group them into thin filaments, thick filaments, and anchoring or structural filaments.
Okay, let's start with the thin filaments. Our sources say there are 3 proteins there.
That's right. The main structural part is actin. It's like 2 strands of pearls twisted together, made of globular or G-actin units. And the absolutely critical feature on actin is the active binding site.
Active binding site, that sounds important.
It is. It's the physical spot where the engine of contraction, the myosin head, is going to grab on.
But it can't just grab on any time, right? The muscle isn't always contracted.
Exactly. So blocking that active site in a resting muscle is another protein called tropomyosin. The source described it as an orange line. It physically lies over and blocks those active sites on actin. It's like a safety cover.
Okay, so tropomyosin is the blocker. Who tells tropomyosin to move?
That's the job of the third thin filament protein, the troponin complex. Troponin is attached to tropomyosin.
Yeah.
And its most vital function. It's the molecule that calcium binds to.
There's calcium again. So troponin is like the calcium sensor or the lock.
Precisely. Calcium is the key. Troponin is the lock. When calcium binds, troponin changes shape, and that pulls the tropomyosin safety cover out of the way.
Unblocking the active sites on actin. Okay, thin filaments. Actin with the site, tropomyosin the blocker, troponin the calcium-controlled lock. Got it. What about the thick filament?
There's really only one main player here, myosin. Myosin molecules bundle together to form the thick filament. The business end of the myosin molecule is its head.
The myosin head, that's what grabs actin.
That's the part that binds to the active site on actin. The myosin head also has the enzymes needed to break down ATP for energy, which powers the whole process. It's constantly reaching out, sort of waiting for that actin site to be uncovered.
Okay, thin and thick filaments are the movers. What were the other 2, nebulin and titin?
Right, nebulin and titin. These are crucial anchoring proteins, sometimes called structural or tempering proteins. They aren't directly involved in the pulling action, but they hold everything together.
So like scaffolding.
Sort of. Nebulin helps align the actin filaments correctly, keeps them organized, but titin, the name, gives it away, doesn't it?
It sounds big.
It's huge GE, one of the largest proteins known. It acts like a giant molecular spring. It connects the thick filament, the myosin, all the way to the Z disc, which is like the anchor point at the end of the contractile unit.
A spring, so it helps with elasticity.
Exactly. It provides structure, anchors the myosin, but crucially, it provides elasticity. It stops the muscle from being stretched too far, and it helps the whole unit recoil, snap back to its resting length after contraction finishes. Keeps everything stable and resilient.
Wow. Okay, so we have all the players. Actin, myosin, troponin, tropomyosin, plus nebulin and titin holding it together. Now, how does the actual movement happen? The contraction?
Right. This brings us to the core process. When that nerve impulse arrives, that electrical signal has to be turned into a physical pulling action. We call this link excitation-contraction coupling, ECC.
Excitation, the nerve signal, contraction, the muscle shortening, coupling, linking the two.
You've got it. ECC is the sequence of events linking the electrical signal traveling down those T-tubules to the mechanical event of the filament sliding. And the mechanism itself is the sliding filament theory.
Okay, the big one. Sliding filament theory. What does it actually say happens?
It states that muscle contraction, muscle shortening, happens because the myosin heads grab onto the actin filaments and pull them. They pull the thin filaments past the thick filaments, sliding them towards the center of the basic contractile unit, the sarcomere.
So the whole unit gets shorter. But, and this is key, right? The filaments themselves, actin and myosin, they don't actually get shorter.
Absolutely crucial point. They don't shorten, they slide over each other, like interlocking fingers pulling closer together.
Okay. And the whole thing is regulated, controlled, by calcium.
Entirely by calcium. Let's walk through the sequence. Step 1. Nerve impulse arrives, travels down the T-tubules.
Check.
Step 2. This signal tells the sarcoplasmic reticulum, the SR, to release its stored calcium ions into the sarcoplasm, flooding the area around the myofibrils.
Calcium floodgates open?
Okay.
Step 3. That release, calcium finds and binds to troponin.
A lock.
Right. Step 4. Calcium binding causes troponin to change shape because troponin is attached to tropomyosin, the blocker.
It pulls tropomyosin out of the way.
Exactly. Step 5. This uncovers or exposes the active binding sites on the actin filament.
The coast is clear for myosin.
Step 6. The energized myosin head can now bind strongly to the exposed active site on actin, forming what's called a cross bridge.
The physical connection, and then the pull happens, the power stroke.
Doing power stroke. But wait, we skipped something vital. The energy. This whole dance needs fuel. Massive amounts of ATP, adenosine triphosphate.
Ah, right. The energy currency of the cell.
Yeah.
Where did ATP fit into this cycle? It's not just one step, is it?
Not at all. The myosin cross-bridge cycle, the repeated grabbing, pulling, and releasing, has 4 key steps, and ATP is involved in, well, basically all of them.
Okay, walk us through the 4 steps of the cross-bridge cycle and where ATP comes in. This feels really central to understanding movement.
Absolutely. Step 1, energizing the myosin head. Before anything can happen, the myosin head has to be cocked, like setting a spring trap. It gets into this high-energy position by hydrolyzing ATP. So ATP breaks down into ADP and a phosphate group. The energy released from breaking that bond is stored in the myosin head.
Okay, so ATP is used first just to get the myosin head ready.
Right. Step 2, cross-bridge formation. Now that calcium has moved tropomyosin, the energized myosin head binds to the active site on actin. This forms the cross-bridge. When it binds, that inorganic phosphate P that was generated earlier is released.
Binding happens, phosphate leaves, then the pull.
Step 3, the power stroke. This is the movement part. The myosin head pivots, it changes shape, pulling the thin filament actin toward the center of the sarcomere. This is the actual shortening action. As it pulls, the ADP molecule is released from the myosin head.
Okay, pull happens, ADP leaves. Now the myosin head is attached, but it needs to let go to grab further down the actin and pull again, right?
Precisely. Step 4, cross-bridge detachment. And this is critical for sustained contraction. A brand new ATP molecule must bind to the myosin head. The binding of this new ATP causes the myosin head to detach from actin, breaking the cross-bridge.
Wow, okay, so ATP is needed to break the connection, not just make it.
That's a super important point, often misunderstood. Without new ATP binding, the myosin head stays locked onto actin. This is what causes rigor mortis after-death ATP production stops. Myosin heads can't detach, muscle stays stiff.
So the cycle is hydrolyze ATP to energize, bind to actin, power stroke, pull, bind new ATP to detach, and repeat as long as calcium and ATP are available.
That's the engine, continuously consuming ATP to keep those filaments sliding. It's an incredibly elegant, energy-hungry process.
Mind-boggling that this tiny molecular dance lets us, lift weights or just stand up. How does that force scale up from one little cross-bridge cycle to the whole muscle pulling?
It really comes down to how often the nerve tells the muscle fiber to do this cycle. It's all about the frequency of the nerve impulses.
Frequency. Okay, so if a muscle fiber just gets one single electrical zap, one nerve impulse,
that results in what we call a muscle twitch. A single stimulus causes a very brief contraction phase, followed by a complete relaxation phase before anything else happens. It's like a tiny blip of force, not very useful on its own.
Right, you can't lift much with just one twitch.
Exactly. But your nervous system rarely sends just one signal for useful work. What if a second signal arrives quickly after the first twitch started relaxing, but before it fully relaxed?
Would the second contraction just add on to the first one?
Precisely. That's called summation of contractions. The force from the second stimulus adds to the residual force left over from the first. You're essentially building on the previous contraction wave.
Stacking the force. Okay, so more frequent signals means more force due to summation. What happens if the signals come really, really fast?
Now we get into tetanus. Not the disease, but the physiological state of sustained contraction. There are 2 main types to understand. First is unfused or incomplete tetanus.
Unfused tetanus. What does that look like?
Stimuli are arriving rapidly, maybe every 20 milliseconds or so. You get continuous summation, driving the tension way up towards the muscle's maximum. But, and this is the key visual, there are still tiny periods of partial relaxation happening between the stimuli. The contraction is strong and sustained, But if you look closely at the force recording, it would look a little shaky or quivering.
Okay, so high force, but still little dips between signals because it's trying to relax slightly. That's unfused.
You got it. Now, crank that frequency up even higher. Say, a stimulus arrives every 5 milliseconds. So fast.
But the muscle has absolutely no time to relax at all.
Exactly. That's fused, or complete, tetanus. The relaxation phase is completely eliminated. The tension hits maximum, and it stays there in a smooth, sustained, continuous plateau. No dips, no quivering. This is usually how your muscles generate their maximum force during intense, steady effort.
So twitch, single blip, summation, stacking, unfused tetanus, shaky peak, fused tetanus, smooth peak. It's all about the timing of the nerve signals.
Precisely. Understanding that frequency-force relationship is key to seeing how the nervous system controls muscle power output.
Okay, that makes sense. We've gone from the molecules to how force is controlled. Now let's apply this to the big picture actual body movements. And for you listening, the best way to lock this terminology in, do the movements with us as we talk about them.
Absolutely. Let's start with the most basic pair, flexion and extension. Flexion means bending a joint, decreasing the angle between the bones. Extension is straightening the joint, increasing the angle back towards or beyond the starting position.
Okay, easy example, the elbow. Curl your arm in toward your shoulder, that's flexion. Straighten your arm out fully, that's extension. Same for the shoulder, right? Lift your arm straight forward.
That's shoulder flexion. Lowering it back down is extension. Now, what about going beyond straight? Hyperextension.
Hyperextension, like extending past the normal anatomical position.
Right. You can do this at the shoulder. If you swing your arms straight back, behind your body, that's hyperextension of the shoulder.
Okay, but the sources mentioned a really important exception, the knee joint. You cannot hyperextend the knee, right? Or shouldn't, anyway. Why?
It's structural. The way the femur and tibia, the thigh bone and shin bone, fit together, plus the incredibly strong cruciate ligaments inside the knee, the ACL and PCL, they physically block the knee from bending backwards beyond a straight line. It's a built-in safety mechanism.
Unlike the shoulder, which is more mobile and relies more on muscles and looser ligaments. Okay, knee hyperextension, it's active. That impossible, got it. What about neck movements? These seem important for posture.
Definitely. Flexion of the neck is simple. Look down, bring your chin towards your chest.
Okay.
Extension is just returning to the neutral anatomical position, head straight, looking forward. And think about this. Postural muscles in your neck and upper back, like the trapezius, are constantly doing tiny extensions just to hold your head upright against gravity.
Ah, interesting. So extension isn't always a big movement. Sometimes it's just maintaining position. What about looking up?
That's hyperextension of the neck. Looking up at the ceiling, or the classic example. A kid looking way up to watch an airplane fly over. That's neck hyperextension.
Flexion down, extension straight, hyperextension up. Okay. Now for the foot and ankle. These have some slightly tricky terms.
They do. The key thing here is that both primary up and down movements are called flexion, just in different directions.
Okay, let's try it. Keep your heel on the floor. Now lift your toes and the top of your foot upwards towards your shin.
That movement, pointing your foot upwards, is dorsiflexion, towards the dorsal or top side of the foot.
Dorsiflexion. Okay. Now the opposite. Point your toes downwards, like a ballerina standing on point or pressing a gas pedal.
That's plantar flexion, pointing towards the plantar or sole bottom surface of the foot. Remembering dorsal, top, and plantar bottom helps keep them straight, even though they're both flexion.
Dorsiflexion up, plantar flexion down. Got it. What about side-to-side tilting of the foot?
If you turn the sole of your foot so it faces inwards towards the midline of your body.
So the bottoms of my feet face each other.
Right. That's inversion, turning inward.
Inversion.
The opposite, turning the sole of your foot outwards, away from the midline.
So the bottoms face away from each other.
That's aversion, turning outwards. Most common ankle sprains happen when the foot is forced too far into inversion. The ligaments on the outside aren't as strong as those resisting eversion.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Inversion in, eversion out. Now for some more general body movements relative to the midline.
Let's do abduction and adduction. Abduction is moving a limb away from the midline of the body. The memory trick is easy. Think of someone being abducted, taken away.
So lifting my arms straight out to the side is abduction, taking it away.
Exactly. And adduction is the opposite, moving a limb towards the midline. Think of adding it back to the body.
So bringing my arm back down to my side after abducting it is adduction, adding it back. Okay.
Simple enough, right? But often confused with rotation is circumduction.
Circumduction. Sounds like moving in a circle.
Kind of, but it's more specific. It's moving the limb so that the far end traces a circle while the near end stays relatively fixed, like drawing a big circle in the air with your whole arm. The limb moves in a cone shape.
Ah, so it's not just spinning, it involves combinations of movements.
Exactly. Circumduction combines flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction all together in sequence. You typically see this at very mobile ball and socket joints like your shoulder or your hip. It's different from simple rotation.
Okay, so what is rotation then?
Rotation is simply turning a body part around its own long axis, like turning your head to say no. That's rotation of the neck. Or rotating your whole arm inwards or outwards.
So turning on an axis can be lateral rotation, turning outwards, or medial rotation, turning inwards.
Got it. Now for a really specific important pair, especially for the forearm, pronation and supination.
Pronation and supination. I always mix these up.
Okay, easy way to remember. Start in the standard anatomical position. Standing upright, arms at your sides, palms facing forward. That position, palm facing forward or up, is supination. Think. You can hold a bowl of soup in your supinated hand.
Supination. Okay, I like that. Palm forward up. So pronation must be the opposite.
Right. Pronation is turning your forearm so the palm faces backward or downward.
Hmm?
The real-life example our sources give is perfect. Turn your hand as if you're looking at your wristwatch. That movement is pronation.
Looking at my watch. Pronation. Soup bowl. Supination. Okay, that helps. Now, this twisting doesn't happen at the elbow hinge itself, does it? Where does this rotation actually occur?
Excellent point. It happens primarily at the joints between the radius and ulna, the two forearm bones. Specifically, the superior radial ulnar joint up near the elbow plays a huge role.
Superior radial ulnar, and what kind of joint is that?
It's classified as a pivot joint, which is a type of synovial joint, meaning it's freely movable, a diarthrosis. Pivot joints are specifically designed for rotation. One bone rotates within a ring formed by another bone and a ligament. That's what lets your radius rotate around your ulna, giving you that pronation-supination ability. Understanding the joint type really clarifies the movement potential.
Pivot joint allows rotation. Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, we have movement language down. Let's move on to naming the actual players, the major superficial muscles. And again, for you listening, pay attention to the names. They often give huge clues about location or function.
Absolutely. The names are your friends here. Let's start up top. Muscles of the head, face, and neck. Remember the word orbicularis means circular.
Okay.
So the orbicularis oculi is the circular muscle around the eye. Oculi, what do you think it does?
Closes the eye. Blinking, squinting.
Exactly. Its main job is closing the eyelids. Important note, a different muscle opens the eyelid. Orbicularis of the oculi is for closing.
Got it. Okay. Next. Zygomaticus. That sounds like the cheekbone, the zygomatic bone.
Precisely. It runs from the zygomatic bone down to the corners of the mouth. It's action. It pulls the corners of your mouth upwards and outwards. It's your primary smiling muscle.
Zygomaticus, smiling. Nice. Now, another circular one. Orbicularis oris. Oris must mean mouth.
Yep. Circular muscle around the mouth. This one closes the lips, purses them, puckers them, protrudes them. The source's example was perfect, making the duck face for a selfie. That's pure orbicularis oris.
Okay, duck face muscle. Got it. What about deeper in the cheek? Buccinator.
The buccinator. Sometimes called the trumpeter's muscle because it helps compress the cheeks to blow air out, but it's really vital everyday function. It presses your cheeks against your teeth. It holds the food bolus, the chewed up lump of food, in place while you're chewing, preventing it from squishing out into your cheeks.
Keeps the food where the teeth can work on it. Okay. What about that thin sheet-like muscle in the neck, the platysma?
Platysma is very superficial, running from your chin area down over the clavicle onto the upper chest. When it contracts, it pulls the corners of the mouth down, tenses the skin of the neck. Think expressions of sadness, fright, surprise, or horror. It creates those vertical neck ridges you see sometimes.
Okay, platysma pulls down. Now for chewing itself, mastication.
Yeah.
Need some powerful muscles for that.
We do. Two main jaw closers. The temporalis, named because it sits over the temporal bone on the side of your head. Feel your temples contract when you clench your jaw. That's it. Closes the jaw.
Temporalis, okay. And the other big one?
The masseter. This is a really thick, powerful muscle running from your cheekbone down to the angle of your jaw. Feel that bulge when you clench your teeth hard. That's the masseter. It's heavily involved in the crushing and grinding motions of chewing, also closes the jaw powerfully. Remember, buccinator positions the food, temporalis and masseter provide the force.
Got it. What about the scalp muscles up there?
There's a system. On your forehead, you have the frontalis. When it contracts, it raises your eyebrows, wrinkles your forehead, like in surprise.
Frontalis raises eyebrows.
At the back of your head, Over the occipital bone is the occipitalis. It pulls the scalp backward.
Okay, front pulls up forward, back pulls back. Are they connected?
Yes, by a broad, flat sheet of connective tissue right over the top of your skull called the cranial aponeurosis. Sometimes the frontalis and occipitalis are just considered two bellies of one single muscle, the occipitofrontalis, linked by this aponeurosis. They work together to move the scalp.
Occipitofrontalis. Okay. Moving down into the neck and trunk, that big strap-like muscle on the side of the neck. The sternocleidomastoid, or SCM. What a name!
It's a fantastic name because it tells you exactly where it attaches. Sterno for sternum, breastbone, cleido for clavicle, collarbone, and echimastoid for the mastoid process, that bony lump behind your ear.
Sternum, clavicle, mastoid. 3 points. Does that explain why it seems to do different things depending on how it contracts?
Absolutely. Because it crosses the neck diagonally, its actions are complex. If both SCMs contract together, they cause neck flexion, bending your head forward. But if just one side contracts, it tilts your head to that same side and rotates your head to face the opposite side. Multi-talented muscle due to its attachments.
Wow. Okay, now for the big muscle covering the upper back and neck, the trapezius, looks like a kite or a trapezoid shape.
Exactly. Huge muscle. Runs from the base of the skull and down the spine, then fans out to attach to the clavicle and the scapula shoulder blade.
And it does a lot, right? Posture.
Foundational for posture. It helps extend the head, keeping it balanced upright. It moves the scapula in various ways, elevates it shrugging, depresses it, retracts it, pulls shoulder blades together. And yes, that everyday action of shrugging your shoulders when you don't know, that's classic trapezius work.
Trapezius holds the head up and shrugs. Got it. Let's go to the front, the anterior trunk, the abs, the six-pack muscle.
That's the rectus abdominis. Rectus means straight, referring to its fibers running straight up and down. Its job is pretty straightforward, too. It flexes the trunk anteriorly. Bending forward at the waist, doing a sit-up or crunch, that's rectus abdominis.
Okay. What about the muscles deeper or to the sides of that, the obliques?
Right. Underneath and flanking the rectus, you have layers. The deepest is the transversus abdominis. Its fibers run horizontally, transversely, across your abdomen, like a corset or belt.
Transversus, like a belt. What does it do?
Its main job isn't big movement, but core stability. It compresses the abdominal contents, helps stabilize the lumbar spine, and maintains the general tone of the abdominal wall. Think of it as cinching your waist from the inside.
Okay, deep stabilizer. Then the internal and external obliques, they run diagonally, right?
Yes, at angles, crisscrossing each other. They help with trunk rotation and side bending, lateral flexion. But they also have a fascinating role as accessory muscles of respiration.
Accessory breathing muscles, how?
They help with forced exhalation. When you cough hard, sneeze, shout, or blow forcefully, the obliques contract to push your abdominal organs up against your diaphragm, helping to push air out quickly. They are antagonists to the diaphragm during forced breathing. The sources even mention their use in specialized things like opera singing or maneuvers to regulate heart rate by increasing internal pressure.
Interesting. Okay, so if the rectus abdominis flexes the trunk forward, what extends it back up straight? Muscles on the back?
Exactly. You need powerful antagonists. These are the trunk extensors, dominated by the erector spinae group. The name says it all. They make your spine erect.
Erector spinae. Is that one muscle?
It's actually a group of 3 long muscles running parallel to the vertebral column. The iliocostalis, most lateral, longissimus intermediate, and spinalis, most medial right next to the spine. Should know all 3 names, but functionally they work together.
Iliocostalis, longissimus, spinalis, together they.
They straighten the back from a bent-over position, extend the trunk, bending backward slightly, control forward bending, and also contribute to lateral flexion, side bending, and rotation of the trunk. They are the absolute workhorses for maintaining posture and lifting.
Makes sense. Okay, let's move out to the upper limb and shoulder movers, that cap-like muscle covering the shoulder joint.
That's the deltoid, shaped like a triangle, or the Greek letter delta. Its primary, most well-known function is abduction of the arm at the shoulder joint, lifting your arm straight out to the side, away from your body, up to about shoulder height.
Deltoid lifts arm sideways. Okay. The big chest muscle.
The pectoralis major, large fan-shaped muscle covering the upper chest. It's a powerful mover of the arm at the shoulder. It performs flexion, bringing the arm forward, adduction, bringing the arm across the body, and internal rotation of the arm.
Flexion, adduction, internal rotation. The source mentions swimming, tennis, activities where you bring your arm across your body forcefully.
Exactly. Think of a swimming stroke, a tennis forehand, throwing a ball, pushing something forward. Pectoralis major is key. If it's damaged, Movements like bringing your arm across your chest horizontally would be really weak or painful.
Okay, now for the arm itself. Bending the elbow flexors of the elbow. The famous one is the biceps brachii, right? That's for two heads.
That's the one everyone knows. Biceps brachii is a strong elbow flexor. But don't forget its other crucial role. It's also a powerful supinator of the forearm. Remember supination, holding the soup bowl. Biceps helps significantly with that twisting motion.
Okay, biceps flexes and supinates. But aren't there other elbow flexors too?
Yes, crucially there are two others, the brachialis and the brachioradialis. Why three?
Good question. Why have three muscles do basically the same thing?
They work together, often recruited in sequence depending on the position of the forearm, the speed of movement, and the amount of force needed. The brachialis actually lies underneath the biceps. It only crosses the elbow joint, so its only job is pure elbow flexion. It's often considered the workhorse of elbow flexion.
Brachialis is the pure flexor. What about brachioradialis?
The brachioradialis runs along the thumb side of the forearm. It's most active during rapid elbow flexion, or when flexing the elbow while the forearm is in a neutral halfway position, like a handshake grip or using a hammer. So biceps, brachialis, brachioradialis all contribute to bending the elbow.
Okay, the three flexors. Now, the muscle that straightens the elbow.
The antagonist, that would be on the back of the arm.
The triceps brachii. Tri meaning three heads. Its sole action at the elbow is extension of the elbow joint, straightening your arm.
Triceps straightens, and this reinforces that point from earlier, right? Muscles only pull.
Perfect example. To push your arm straight, extend the elbow. The triceps has to pull on the back of your forearm bone, the ulna. It can't push the elbow straight. It pulls it straight.
Muscles only pull. Got it burned in now. Okay, one more major upper body muscle, that big wing muscle on the back. The latissimus dorsi, often called the lats. Huge, flat muscle covering the lower and mid-back, but it inserts onto the humerus, the upper arm bone. It's kind of the posterior counterpart to the pectoralis major.
Lats, what do they do? Pull-ups.
Exactly. Pull-ups are a classic lat exercise. The latissimus dorsi powerfully performs adduction of the arm, pulling it down towards the body from the side, extension of the arm, pulling the arm backward, like in rowing or swimming, and also internal rotation. It's the key muscle for almost any strong pulling motion involving the arms.
Pulling down and back. Okay, lats. Wow, that was a lot of muscles.
It was, but hopefully linking the names, locations, and actions makes it more manageable.
Definitely. So quick recap then. We went from the tiny, tiny world inside the muscle cell, the 6 proteins, the sarco everything, the calcium trigger, the ATP-fueled sliding.
All the way up through how nerve frequency controls force twitch, summation, tetanus.
And then we mapped that onto actual movements, flexion, extension, abduction, rotation, and tied those to the major superficial muscles, using their names and real-life actions as hooks.
And hopefully for you listening, that constant connection between the name, the structure, and the function helps solidify it. Remembering sarco means flesh. Remembering brachii relates to the arm. Remembering what the SCM attaches to. These aren't just names, they're clues. Relating pronation to checking your watch, zygomaticus to smiling. It grounds the anatomy in reality.
It really does bring it to life. Seeing how the buccinator helps you chew properly, or how the latissimus dorsi powers a swimming stroke. It all comes back to those filament sliding. It's pretty amazing.
It is. And that brings us to a final thought, something to mull over. We kept emphasizing that muscles could only pull. They never push. Think about holding your head upright. If all those postural muscles we talked about, the trapezius, the SCM, the erector spinae, suddenly stopped working, what would happen?
My head would just fall forward, right? Pulled down by gravity.
Exactly. The muscles are constantly pulling up and back to counteract gravity. But for that pull to work, to actually move your head or hold it steady, the muscle needs something stable to pull against. What essential piece of equipment, what body system is absolutely required for nearly every muscle action, acting as the fixed point or the lever system that allows the muscle's pull to translate into meaningful movement?
Something for you all to think about. What provides that anchor? Great question. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the fascinating world of muscle.